Welcome to the Helsi podcast, where we invite you to invest in your well-being and unlock the secrets of vibrant health, peak performance, and wellness. Join us, Sebastian Mirau and Johannes Kettelhout, co-founders of Australia and New Zealand's leading wellness company, as we dive deep into the science, strategies, and stories that empower you to live your healthiest, happiest life. Whether you are a CEO, high achiever, entrepreneur, elite athlete, health enthusiast, scientist, or self-improvement seeker, together we will explore the cutting edge of biohacking techniques and holistic health practices with world-class experts that optimize your mind, body, and spirit. With each episode, you will walk away with practical and actionable steps to integrate in your daily life. Are you ready? Let's elevate your well-being.
So welcome to the Helsi Show, Jon. I'm so excited to hear from you about you and your fascinating work, and also about the path that you have taken. Jon, your career in child protective services and clinical supervision for traumatized teens led to the creation of the rapid resolution therapy. And can you share some pivotal moments or experiences that inspired you to develop the RRT, and how did it evolve over time for you?
Thank you. So my initial step into anything to do with this stuff was as a child protective service worker. It's something that all of a sudden I found myself assigned to. I didn't know anything about how to do that. I had a degree in history. They didn't talk about doing that, that's for sure. Of course, my supervisor had better training. She had a degree in art history. Between history and art history, that's what we had in order to go and knock on doors and deal with people that were neglecting or abusing or being sexual with their children. That was my beginning. And I did that for a number of years, and then worked for this place that housed and attempted to assist runaway, throwaway kids. So I experienced lots of traumatic stuff. Then later, as I began to meet with people in order to assist them individually to make a difference in how their mind processes things, I realized that nothing that they taught me in graduate school had any pertinence at all. I mean, nothing was, in fact, I remember calling my buddy and saying, man, you got to help me. He said, what's the matter? I said, I'm realizing I fell asleep during the important classes in school. And he said, what do you mean? Well, all the classes on how you become useful or do anything useful for anybody. How do you deal with trauma? How do you deal with anxiety? How do you deal with depression? How do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? I said, I must have fallen asleep. He said, dude, you didn't fall asleep. They didn't cover any of that. I said, but I've got a license to mess with people. He says, you better go to a postdoctoral program. I did that. And there they told me that the reason people are troubled is because something bad happened. They didn't get to fully express the feeling. It's stuck inside. I need to find a way to help them to understand it and release it, which means to feel it, which means to re-experience it. Next thing I know, my job seems to be to cause people to re-experience the very worst moments of their lives, and to cry and to sob and to pound and to vomit. And so I did that for a while. And I thought, well, I sure as hell hate this job, but somebody's got to do it, and it probably should be me. If I had done a better job initially protecting these kids, then maybe I wouldn't have all these messed up people. So I got to figure it out. I did it and did it and did it, and finally I stopped doing it when I realized it didn't work. And then I realized there wasn't anything that I knew that worked. And that's when I started sort of developing different processes from a very different perspective, and that's how this sort of began. What I was looking for is, how do you assist people who are troubled because of something they experienced previously? I mean, that was the question. That's what I began to take a look at, Sebastian, and what I found was one theory is, well, when she was being raped, she certainly was not in an experience where it was a good idea to look to express her feelings. When she's getting raped, she's not trying to express feelings, she's trying to not be dead. And so I understand this theory that then the feelings didn't get expressed and they're trapped. But I threw that out and I developed another way of thinking about it, which is that the mind hasn't fully gotten the good news that this thing is no longer happening.
Gotcha.
So I don't, so the therapist who's trained traditionally to deal with this is basically kind of trying to cause the person to be feeling like it is happening. So there's this gal that's been raped and you're sitting with her and she was raped 2 years ago, but you're trying to make her feel like she's being raped currently.
Are you so just to rewind on this mechanism that humans seem to have, when you're in a dangerous or life-threatening situation like rape, at that moment you don't express your feelings, which makes sense. Just in theory, would, if you express your feelings when something bad happens to you, if you express it straight away, does it mean it's less likely to create trauma?
I don't know. Not necessarily. Because the expression of feelings doesn't seem to me to cause them to disappear. So the whole foundation of what I was taught doesn't make sense. And here's the thing. If your listeners have ever known somebody, lived with somebody, or heard of somebody who was very rageful and punishing and angry, do you feel like because he was really screaming, yelling, cursing, and pounding on you last night that it's probably a very safe place to be now because he got all those feelings out?
Right.
Of course not. You feel like, yeah, I'm with a frickin' maniac, and he's likely to be a maniac tonight and tomorrow and the next day. So feeling it, the whole notion, feel it to heal it, doesn't make a damn bit of sense to me. And mental health professionals worldwide are encouraging people to feel it, to heal it, which means feel the worst moments of your life. So, for instance, in the United States, there's this Veterans Administration, and they care for, or they supposedly care for, people who have medical and psychological issues, probably as a result of service in the military. And so the guys that are going in there who have been traumatized, I mean, they were crawling through the mud getting shot at. I mean, they had real traumatic, horrible stuff, but they're not going to therapy. And they say, oh no, it's too scary, it's too painful. I mean, they went to the jungle and got shot at, but now they're afraid to go to therapy. Well, I understand that because they're likely to have somebody telling them to re-experience those terrible moments again and again and again. The good news is you absolutely don't ever have to do that to get better.
That is such good news.
It's really good news if you have been experiencing the negative effect from some prior experience and then going into some kind of treatment which encourages continuing to feel it, but feel it more, feel it stronger. You don't have to do that. You absolutely don't have to do that. Here's the difference. See, what I believe is that Our human minds are more advanced than every other life form. Kangaroos didn't build London. Giraffes don't build airplanes. Human
Yeah.
mind is more advanced. Human mind can do something that no other life form can do. Humans can reminisce. We might meet in the future and say, hey, remember that first meeting? Remember when you said this and I said that and we had fun with
Yes.
that? Rabbits don't do that. I don't think rabbits do that. I don't think hawks do that. I don't think kangaroos do that. So our mind's more advanced. That's why we can build cities. We can conceive of past and plan for future. Other life forms don't do that. As our mind became more advanced, Sebastian, it still had to do the other stuff. In other words, when his mind is becoming more advanced, you can't very well say, well, today I'm learning algebra, so I'm not
Yeah.
going to bother with circulation. I had to keep
Right.
circulation going even while learning algebra. So mind, more advanced mind, developed sort of separate, apart from the more primitive mind. People tend to identify with the more advanced part of their mind, and they call it I.
Okay.
And then they call the rest of the thing self. And then you hear people say things like this: I need to calm myself down so I can get myself motivated, and then hopefully I can get myself started. I hope I can keep myself going. But I don't know because I have trouble controlling myself. And my coach told me I needed to discipline myself. So I'm trying to discipline myself, but it's hard to discipline myself. And that makes it so, you know what? I guess I just don't like myself. But my psychologist told me that I have to like myself. In fact, I found out I need to love myself. So then I realized I did not like myself. I hated myself. So I hate myself and I have to love myself. How the hell am I going to love myself if I hate myself? And people get trapped into these ridiculous inner
But it's schizophrenic, isn't it?
conversations that
Yeah.
no other life form is thinking about this. Ducks are not thinking about, well, I got to motivate myself to swim across the pond. It, it's not, it's not happening. With this more advanced mind, it got more advanced, but it didn't get integrated. It's like an advanced component got slapped on top of a primitive component. It's like you hooked your Blu-ray player up to your old black and white television. It doesn't work.
Yes.
If you have any doubt about when I say the way our mind developed doesn't work, just look at the front page of any newspaper any day of the week. Don't open the newspaper. It gets very
Yeah.
dangerous in there. Front page, on the cover, any day, any paper, and you'll realize, whoa, something must be wrong with this freaking instrument. Because, I mean, what are we doing? Running around the planet, making other species extinct on our way to making humans extinct, so that there's nothing left but roaches and robots. Why is this going on? Because the unit that's doing all of it isn't integrated, isn't together, is dysfunctional. So specifically what happens, Sebastian, is that although here he's got the news, yes, the
Yeah.
war is over. He
Yeah.
might even know the war is over and I won.
Yeah.
But here he's still experiencing it as if it's about to happen, is actually happening, just finished happening, all at the same time. So what's the solution? The
Yes.
solution is to communicate with this thing called self and say, hey, excuse me, Mr. Self, but we have some good news for you. Oh, what's that? Well, nobody's raping you. Really? Are you sure? Absolutely. Oh, that's really good news. You know what else? Nobody's shooting at you. Nobody's beating you. The kids aren't making fun of you. You're
Yeah.
not in the ridiculous school system any longer. The good news is that you survived this crap. And maybe You just went through what's considered a normal a life with good
Yeah.
parents and good schools and good everything. And if that's the case, you still went through a lot of crap. But most people didn't have it that lucky, and they went through even a whole lot more crap.
Yeah.
What's the solution? The solution is to fix, to repair, to rewire this individual's mind so that it works for him.
Yeah.
That's it. And guess whose job that is? Mine. So if you came to me and you were concerned about something, I would say, okay, well, it's my intention to make sure that our meeting is valuable. I want you to like it. I want you to love it. I want you to feel good about it. And I want you to feel satisfied through time, next week, next month, next year. That's what I'm aiming for with you. And it's my responsibility to make it happen.
That sounds almost too good to be true, because to me, I found the world is full with traumas, and everyone has their own trauma. It makes it as big or small, I guess, as the individual feels it. Like when you talk about school and bullying, I don't know how many years. I would say, even though my school trauma, and it started in year one, I was dyslexic, didn't work, and so on, and therefore, like, I was always the underdog and tried to prove myself by beating people up or being just really naughty, and that continued until I was 16, so 10 years. I would say it took longer than being 26, so another 10 years, to actually feel worthy of the world, of however I perceived the first 10 years, not casting any blame. It just somehow became that. And I would have loved to have a tool that would have prevented me to go 10 years at least of having so much self-doubt. But how do you have access to something like that? And how does it work?
So the thing that is advanced that people call I,
Yes.
and the thing that's more primitive that people call self, and so he's identifying with I, trying to manage self. I'm trying to cheer myself up, get myself calm, whatever. Those two things see the world differently, I and self, and don't know what to make of each other. So I'll give you a silly but scenario illustrating what's going wrong. You and I are hanging out, and you say, gee, I'm cold. I'm really uncomfortable. And I say, Sebastian, give me just a moment. I come back in with a fan, big fan, and a water spray bottle. And I turn the fan on, I point it at you, take the water bottle and start spraying your whole face and head and body with this water till you're soaking wet with a fan on you, shivering like hell. And that's when you say, you know what, I hate you. I said, why would you hate me? You say, why would I hate you? I just told you I'm cold, and you throw water all over me and put a fan on me. That's why I hate you. I hate you. I told you I'm cold. And I said, yeah, cold. And you go, yeah, cold. And I say, yeah, cold. That's what I'm doing. So then you realize, oh my goodness, Jon isn't evil. He's just an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm telling him I'm too cold. He thinks I'm not cold enough. So a language problem, how does it get solved? How could somebody solve that for themselves? I don't know. But I can tell you how I would solve it for somebody.
Yes.
I learn the language that the thing called self understands. And then I tell it in language that it understands what to do. And it does it. Now, for instance,
Sorry, yes, you go.
for instance, I never find anybody who tells me that they are unhappy with something or want something else who's thinking of it, Sebastian, in a way in which their own mind would understand what they're talking about. For instance, think of you're in a speech class.
Yeah.
And they give you an impromptu topic right there. They say, okay, you're going to speak something about nutrition. Guy gets up, he speaks about fiber and how important fiber is. Next gal gets up and she says, it's a good idea to eat a wide variety of fruits and vegetables of various colors. Third person gets up and says, if you hold an orange, you can squeeze it and feel how firm it is. If you tug the skin off, you can feel the skin resist as you tug it, but you can get every piece of that orange off. There's that white stringy stuff underneath, and then the orange. Now squeeze it, but gentle. Notice how different it feels. So much softer, right? If you squeeze it a little bit more, a droplet of the juice is released, and there's a fragrance, and you could capture it in your tongue. You could even take a big bite, and it'll squirt all inside of your mouth. So 3 speeches. Which one caused the people in the audience's salivation to increase?
The third
Number
one.
3.
Yes.
When people are stuck and troubled, they're not talking to their mind in a way that their mind even understands. They're talking about fiber. They're talking about fruits and vegetables. They're talking about concepts. They're talking about generalities. They're talking about things that unconscious doesn't get. So my job is, I get a sense as to what is this individual looking for. Let's say, for instance, she says, I am very knowledgeable on my subject, and it's interesting. So it would be a good thing for me to get out there and talk about it and let people know what it is and what I can do and what I know. But the thought of doing that terrifies me. I know it's not dangerous to give a talk. I mean, they might not like me, but they're not going to shoot me. So terror doesn't seem appropriate to me as a response, and it's stopping me, and I can't get it to go. And I tell myself to stop being so nervous, to stop being so crazy. It's not so dangerous. What the hell's the matter with me? I tell myself to man up, to move forward, to get it done. But I can't seem to get it done. I'm broken. I'm no good. It doesn't work. Something's wrong. I'm weak. I'm a coward. I'm screwed up. What's the solution? For me to tell her mind at the deepest level that it's perfectly safe and interesting to get up in front of people and give talks. And even if they don't like it, you're absolutely safe. You're as safe as you were as if you didn't do it. I guess we're never safe. But you're not any more likely to get shot giving a talk than you are to get shot while grocery shopping, you know? So I tell the mind, no, there's no danger here. And then the mind goes, oh, well, that's good to know. And so she's no longer nervous.
Yes.
She's no longer nervous because we've told her mind it's not dangerous. She already knew it wasn't dangerous. But the thing called self, which regulates all the feelings and thoughts and that stuff, didn't know it wasn't dangerous. So the solution is to let her know that. But boy, it's unlikely that somebody will run into somebody who will do that for them. What they're probably going to do is go to somebody who's going to tell them they ought to meet with them regularly for a long time and discuss what was annoying about their upbringing.
Yes. This is fascinating, and it's great that it works for really extreme cases. But I talked yesterday to someone who will never board a plane because she's so scared about that. I talked last night in the middle of the night to a child of mine about their nightmare and how to overcome that. And like I've probably every day some conversations to my kids, and sometimes I succeed. The problem is I don't know why I sometimes succeed in helping them to overcome their fear, and sometimes I don't.
I can tell you that you're an unusually bright, kind, and charismatic guy, and you have the intention of causing the fear to go away, and you watch what you're doing and notice the effect, and that shifts what you do to get the effect you'd like. you're an effective communicator. But I can also guess that nobody's ever really taught you how to do any of it.
Certainly not, no.
So we go to school and they have time to teach us the most useless bullshit that could possibly be comprehended. How do you spell worm guts and battles
Yeah,
that
yeah.
aren't in existence, and the names of generals that have been dead for 100 years?
Mm.
And not just to know them, to spell them, and all this nonsense. But did they tell you what to say to your best friend when his father dies?
Yes, yes.
I don't remember the class on that. Did they
I
tell
don't
you how to
remember either.
resolve a conflict with your girlfriend? I don't remember a class on that. So all of this stuff that actually matters to cause people to have successful, good, rich lives isn't ever taught. So I think the school system is just so lax, and that's where a lot of the problem begins. You know what the school system has in common with the mental health industry, the education industry, the mental health industry? And you can tell me about the countries you've been in, because I know primarily where I've been, which is the
Yeah.
United States. So tell me from where you are. But here, the educational industry only blames the people that it has failed for its own ineptitude.
Yeah.
In other words, you don't hear teachers come up and say, I'm sorry, I didn't do a very good job of conveying knowledge.
Because I think that even the awareness is missing what it could look like. I sometimes found that when I look into a bit alternative education system, but whatever you talk about, now we talk about education, and I certainly would say most people are just not aware of that even, so they don't look for tools that you have developed for your particular area.
They don't look, and what they do instead is they apply credit, blame, pride, and shame in order to control these kids. And if they're not successful, they blame the kid or the kid's parents. Do they
Yes.
ever blame themselves in your country? They never blame
Yeah.
themselves here.
Yeah.
Never, never, never. I mean, some kid comes back to the school. He went to that school. He comes back and shoots a bunch of people. I never hear the principal of the school say, gosh, I guess we messed up with that one.
Yes. Yes, that's a good point.
They don't think they did anything wrong when they educate somebody who comes back and shoots everybody. I mean,
So, John, how do you know the language, the right language then to talk to people correctly?
well, it's to talk to various facets of the mind
Okay.
effectively. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And for instance, right there, when I spoke about the orange, okay, you're
Yes.
holding an orange,
Yeah.
and you can feel its firmness.
Yes.
And you can feel the tug when you pull the skin off piece by piece.
Yeah.
So there I'm speaking to the thing called self, because there you kind of could see it and feel it and experience it, and your mouth got wet. That means communication with your unconscious. Now, of course, it is more complex than that, but that's an example
Yeah.
of how you can say something to unconscious that it will respond to. For instance, for you, my friend, you're such an open guy and very learned, but I wonder, is there, if you had the opportunity, if we could shift, change, or improve anything about the way you think, feel, act, react, interact with people, the way you feel or the way you think or the way you act automatically, if there's anything we could shift that would make your life significantly better, what would it be for you?
Yeah. For me, I think it's often I don't give myself credit, and that's okay. But sometimes knowing actually I'm a good dad, for example, or I'm a good leader of my team, would actually help to feel confident to give more and to do more of that. So for me, it's often self-awareness that I'm lacking, or self-confidence to really say like, I, so I have 4 kids, soon 5, and I get a lot of feedback from people externally. I haven't seen well-behaved or kind kids like that for a long time. Your family looks, like it's really harmonious, and it is. Somehow, I still don't have that view of that family. I mean, not saying we have a terrible family, but there's always this. It goes so many notches
So
down that I would say,
Sebastian,
yes, sorry.
isn't it not just that you don't have that view, but that you have to some degree had an opposing view?
I always think, oh, it could be better.
That's the opposing view. And it's not just I could become better now, it's I should have been better already, hasn't it?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So if you look at that, that's the communication that's been going on through your mind. You should have done better already. You should have done better previously. You should have lived a better life previously. That's the thing that goes around has been going around in your mind. Okay,
100%.
how did that get there? Well, because the way we raise children, how could that not have gotten there? So
Right.
they do that. They do things to make kids feel bad and inadequate in order to get them to do better. It's the stupidest thing, but it's what they do. So that got into you. And
Yeah.
hence, your beautiful mind wants you to do well, be a great father, be a great dad, have a lot of fun, be a great professional, get things done. And so it tells you that you're a screw up in order
So-
to motivate you to do an excellent job. That's how it has been. Remember that?
Yes,
Like it goes right up till now. Remember it?
yes,
Create an avatar. Create a guy. You make him up in your mind.
yes.
He's not you. He doesn't look like you, but he's about your age, looks different. Maybe he's got red hair that pops up on top. See him?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's your avatar. Now, the way he serves you is you watch him do it in the way that you think would be better. So this guy is interacting with his kid. At the end of the thing, it was a difficult conversation. He realizes, yeah, that was all right, but that didn't, I don't love it. I don't love it. And then he says, well, okay, that's how it is. And this is what I'm planning the next time I do this connection on this thing. And he kind of sees himself doing it the way he'd like, and he moves forward.
yeah.
So that would be better, wouldn't it?
100%.
So you just saw it, didn't you?
Yes,
Now, finally, your unconscious knows what there is to do.
to
What
mimic
you're going to
and to
find
morph into that.
happening, Sebastian,
Yes,
is the other will still come up, but
yes,
not quite as much. And more frequently, you'll start to notice, I just thought of how I wanted to do it better. Instead of thinking I should have already, I thought of how to.
yes,
It's like the difference. I don't know how to cook. You come over and say, I'm hungry. I say, well, I don't know how to cook. And you say, well, you should know how to cook. What's the matter with you? You're a
yeah.
screw up. You should have had food for me. Or you say, oh, yeah, really? It would be fun to teach you.
Gotcha.
So I'm seeing you where when you have gone through a interchange with one of your kids and you realize, not bad, but I'd like it even better,
Yes,
then what you'd like better is future, not past. So I'd like to do it better. See that? That's what the avatar is doing. He sees it in his mind, and then he does it that way next time. Would that be all right?
yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay, it's already beginning. Because the thing that happened is this is not any different from what you've been wanting, but where you've been wanting it, your intellect has not gotten the message up till this moment through to the rest of your mind.
Yeah.
Now, all of your mind knows what you intend. And this is it. You have an experience, and then if you would like things better, you show yourself an example of how you would handle it future.
Yes.
That's it. How
Yeah.
was it different? It used to be you would show yourself the example of how you should have already done it different previously.
Yes. So that's really an alter ego that I perceive and see and want to morph into.
Yeah, your avatar.
Yes, my avatar.
Kids will know what that means.
Yes.
Your avatar. You create that, and that thing represents you to your mind. So if you want your mind to do something, you show it this thing, this redhead thing. You
Yes.
show your mind that guy doing it a
So,
few times.
yes. So like I thought it was quite picturesque. I don't know if picturesque is the right word. When you talked about the war hero or the veteran coming home. What you would suggest to this person, similar to what you suggested to me, is like, how would you like to see someone who comes home from hard work, a big job, and a really honorable job, to act when they are back in the civil
That thing
world?
is
Is that,
so,
yeah,
see, what you spoke about
yeah,
is an improvement on what's working very well already. So I can pick it
okay,
up right here for you,
okay,
and I didn't even ask you, can I do this? It just happened, and it was okay with that. With
yeah,
this other thing, okay, I'm talking to this guy, and what's um, what's bothering you? Well, when I was over in the service, this guy was running toward me, and I thought he had a grenade and he was going to blow everybody up, and I didn't want that to happen, so I shot him. But then when I got closer, it wasn't a grown-up, it was a boy, and he didn't have a hand grenade. He had a candy bar. I mean, I've talked to those folks. You know what I don't tell them to do? I don't give them any kind of self-help technique.
okay,
I say, we know how to fix this for you. All you do is show up and we'll do it for you. Because it's too much to to teach somebody how to handle that kind of thing on their own. It shouldn't be handled on your own. You shouldn't have to give yourself haircuts.
John, just on this particular bit, there must be a percentage of intellects and minds that find a way out of this conundrum and explain it to themselves and they are okay. But it's probably not the majority, but more a
Well, when
minority
it's
that really
something
can
like,
dig themselves out, yeah?
yeah, when it's something like the situation that I described, where a
Yeah,
guy mistakenly kills some
yes,
child, that's a really unlikely one to work your way out of.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
I had a fella who was a commander, and he's in a vehicle with a bunch of his men, and he says, "Stop the vehicle." And they stop it, and he tells everybody, "Stay where you are." And then he gets out, and he walks a few yards to piss.
yeah,
So he's over there pissing. That's why he wanted the thing to stop. He says,
yeah,
"Stop," because he had to piss. He says,
yeah,
"Stay here." Well, of
yeah,
course. And he goes
yeah,
over and pisses on a tree. Unfortunately, the vehicle gets uh, blown up. This guy tells me, I tell these guys, stop,
yes,
or they wouldn't have been there.
yeah,
I tell them, stay in the thing, or they wouldn't have been there. I killed them.
yeah, yeah. He takes responsibility.
Well, no, you didn't. You took a
Right.
piss.
Mm.
Hello?
Yeah. Happenstance.
Um, you, you can't make decision based on what happens after it. You can't decide whether you're going to do something based on what will happen after you've done it. You can't decide whether or not to take a piss based on whether or not somebody will blow somebody up after you've finished.
Yeah.
There's So we got to get this terrible mechanism of guilt and shame out of people, so that they're free to be clear and live great lives and do things that are best for themselves, best for the world. What I'm describing is so radically different from what people are familiar with. Let me mention a couple of ways people might become more familiar with it. Every month, 6 times a month, I do a open group called Solutions. You can come, you can bring anybody you'd like, any of your wonderful listeners can come. You just go to the website, rapidresolutiontherapy.com, and register for Solutions. In the Solutions thing, people raise their hands with different issues. I'm worried about this, or I'm dealing with that, or this. And the issues range to everything you could possibly imagine. I meet with that person live right there in front of the rest of the people and do something that often makes a very significant difference, and then go to the next, the next, the next, the next, maybe handle 20 of them in a row. Wow. Over 2-3 hours. That goes on. That's free. So if people want to have some sense, yeah. and a lot of those people are never going to see any of us other than that, and that's fine, because we can make a huge contribution to improve the world, and people don't have to pay for any of that help, and it's there ongoing, and it's making a difference for people. So that's one way to learn about it. We have free resources like a recording that promotes healing. People, I know at least one emergency room doc that has his staff listen to that recording before every single shift, has been doing it all through COVID, still does it. So he says, well, I don't want my staff getting sick. So we all sit and listen to it together before we say, okay, bring in the wounded here. So that's available. People can download the chapters of the initial chapter of both of the books. I believe one is called Life-Changing Conversations, one's called Grief is Not Sacred, which you can purchase on Amazon. I think you can do that in Europe. If not, call us.
Yes, you can.
Good. So those are ways to learn about this process. We really want to make sure people aren't suffering. And we want to make sure people aren't suffering regardless of their economic situation. There's some people that come to see me that probably have enough money to buy Switzerland. But I don't want to just serve those folks.
Yeah.
I want to serve people who don't have any resources. In fact, I want to serve them even more. And that's why we make sure that we have services available at all the way to free. People can remain in ongoing experiencing treatment to move them forward in life at no charge by attending the Solutions program. And there are a bunch of other opportunities. And I also do training for people who want to learn to utilize these tools and processes. So we have a training coming up called Clinical Hypnosis with Rapid Trauma Resolution on January 26th. And if people have any interest in being in that, there's a code that you can put in where you get a discount, a significant discount. It's just Clear 25, Clear, CLEAR 25. That's the code. That'll take significant money off of whatever people would do with us. But you don't have to pay us anything. Come and just let us work with you for free. That would be
Do
fun.
they find the courses also over via rapidresolutionstherapy.com?
It's rapidresolutiontherapy.com. They'll list all the different courses. The wonderful interview you're having with me now will be there so that people can be able to learn from you and know who you are and what you're doing. And that's where to register and get involved with everything. rapidresolutiontherapy.com.
Jon, before we come back to the commander, but because I would love to see which angle you would take, though, or show another example by talking about the commander of how you would get there. But just while you talk about your books, are these books, would you call them self-help books? Would they be more case studies that sort of explain the behind the scenes what happens? Or how would I use your books the best? Or just to get to know sort of
What a beautiful question, sir. Beautiful question. Both books are written this way. You'll read people I met with, for instance, the first chapter in the book called Life-Changing Conversations concerns a meeting I had with a young lady. She was about 21, a lovely gal. She had a seizure disorder where she kept having many seizures during the day, and so she had to wear a helmet all the time. If she went out for a walk, she had to use like a 3-pronged cane. Only 21, beautiful young lady. She couldn't go anywhere or do anything. And she came in, she'd been getting treatment at very reputable clinics, medically and psychologically, for years for this thing. They couldn't seem to get anywhere with her. She came in for a visit. She's never had another seizure. She does TED Talks and has a great practice healing others. So that thing is the first chapter. The way it's done is I just give you word for word how it happened.
Yes.
I said this, she said this. I said this, she said that. And then I'm also explaining how it's happening on another column over here. So here's exactly what happened. Here's how it's happening. Who is this appropriate for? Anybody who would find that interesting. Of course, people who are in the coaching or mental health field or substance abuse field or grief field or metaphysical field or all those supposedly helping people fields would benefit. But so would people who just are looking to understand things about how people's minds shift. Because when you're learning how they shift, it will begin applying to you. And so it's useful in both ways. But easier than buying the book would be to just tune in and be part of what we're doing, and it's free.
It sounds like that. Yes.
You get to watch it live. You get to watch it happen.
So if we come back to the commander, so he told you that, and you probably don't buy as much into his story or try to analyze what exactly is going on, because that sounds quite complex and probably the traditional way that seems to often go nowhere or have a lot of therapy sessions to get anywhere. You have a different approach there.
Well, I would want to get his mind to know this. This thing isn't happening, it doesn't mean anything, and there's nothing to be done about it. Hence, you don't need to create any thoughts or feelings about it at all.
How do you convince him about that?
Well, you don't convince him. You get the part of his mind that's unconscious that has been causing the feelings to continue to show up, because because that part of the mind, Sebastian, has been reading the information as if the damn thing is about
Yeah.
to happen.
Gotcha.
If it's about to happen, we better let you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what's the solution? To get to that part of the mind, open the channel, and then
Yes.
say, that's not going to happen.
No.
That's never going to happen. And then, well, you might say, what do you mean never going to happen? It already happened. Well, it's never going to happen. It will never happen. It'll never happen. The guy isn't in the military. He's not going to be ordering people to stay in trucks while he takes a piss. It's never going to happen. No thought about it has any value. And when his mind gets that, it goes, oh, well then, never mind.
Yes.
And it's done. But one other quick thing that's different about this process and other processes people have been experiencing, if somebody comes to me or somebody that trains with me, we know it's our job to get you better.
Mm-hmm.
In the rest of the mental health industry, it's not. So when somebody doesn't get better that this social worker treated, she's likely to say, well, he was resistant. He wasn't motivated. He didn't take responsibility. Well, in my world, if I don't get him better, it's, hey, I'm sorry I didn't have the skill. Let me find somebody who does and connect you. So that's how we would deal with that. We wouldn't tell you you didn't get better because you were resistant, you were screwed up, you didn't care enough, you didn't try enough. We'd say, hey, if I couldn't assist you, man, I'm sorry, I apologize. That's on me. I didn't have the skill because it's my job to get you better. So that's a big difference.
Very big difference. There's also a conflict of interest, of course, because if you make money, make a living off someone being sick, I think in the therapy world that is really tricky, because you might have a good client that, sees some results, but at the moment where you really finish and the client is, the therapy is finished, that they are good, that moment the income stream would stop. I'm not saying
Actually,
that's always the
it's
intent.
very
It's tricky.
interesting, and it's very concerning to people in these businesses, mental health and coaching and what have you. But here's the facts. The facts are that you know somebody who's been in therapy, and she's been in therapy for 7 years, and she's very well educated as to why she's unhappy, and would be happy to explain it to you if you have about 25 hours free. So everybody knows that kind of situation. And so therapists are afraid if the person doesn't stay sick, he's not going to keep coming and paying. You don't need him to keep coming and paying because there'll be other people. There'll be a ton of other people want to have that spot because people actually want to get better. They don't want an education as to why they're not better, or to spend 7 years getting somebody helping them to cope with the fact that they're screwed up. They want to just get better. So if we're getting people better. We don't have any trouble filling my time, I'll tell you. They have trouble scheduling, Christmas as an afternoon to take off. There's no trouble scheduling because people want those results. So if you get rid of one, there's another.
If just on that topic, if you think that those are like people act in the world because it's a reaction of what might have happened in their childhood or a generation before and so on. So with your technique, if I just have a bird's eye view, it can stop these things instantly. Because the crazy thing about trauma, of course, it doesn't necessarily only apply to that individual that had the trauma. In fact, maybe everyone has some sort of thing that actually happened a generation or two before, and they still carry it in it. So it's just very exciting that your way of dealing with this will take it out of the equation, and so the next generation will not have to deal with something that they have never even lived through anyway.
And yeah, that matters so much to me. That's the flag we're waving. Let's do that while there's still an earth to save.
Yes. Yeah. Because all this baggage, and as you said, most people don't want to have the baggage anyway. They're not interested in that, but somehow there is so little help to actually really move through that rapidly, as you have discovered. So I'm sure many people listen. See, many of our listeners are actually therapists or really interested in that in one way or another. We were talking about training earlier. How long is the training to actually be really effective in helping people through
The
that
training
traumas?
that's coming up that's called clinical hypnosis with rapid resolution therapy is 60 hours over 10 weeks. And it's on Zoom. If people are able to be there live, that's certainly my preference. But people have their own schedules and lives and may miss however much they miss. And all of it's recorded so people can then get that part done later if they couldn't make it live. That class gives lots of information that has three purposes. One is I'd like to create a personal breakthrough for everyone taking the class. Two is I'd like, if you take my class, that you're better as a husband, better as a father, better employer, better with your team, that you have more ability and grace, particularly around people who, when they experience things that are difficult and troubling, you become a source of peace and comfort and healing. So that's the second mission. The third one for the class is, if you really like this and get into it and want to do it, this can be a really interesting and quite lucrative career that can all be done right from your home. And so we have people making very, very good livings doing stuff that they really like doing during hours that they really like doing them without even having to go anywhere to get it done. I mean, it's amazing. I'm in Florida, you're in Germany, and I feel like you're a few feet from me. I do. I mean, I feel like I'm going to ask you why you didn't even offer me coffee. Because it's so close, it's so connected and so close. Then we just continue and have tons of courses and things available for people to get better and better and better and better at it. So if I say to you, hey, how long is it going to take you to teach my kid how to ice skate? You might say, well, you want him to be able to get all the way across the rink without falling on his head? That's going to take me about this long. You want the kid to be jumping in the air and spinning like a top and landing on one foot. It's going to take a bit longer.
Yeah.
So how long does it take to learn to do this? It kind of depends on how fancy you want to be doing it. We have some people who really want to be doing it in powerful and effective ways, and they enjoy spending time continuing to get better at it. And that includes me, because I'm pretty sure I'm a work in progress, and that my effectiveness is better today than it was a month ago, and isn't as good as it'll be in a month. That's how I think of it for me. So I haven't gotten there, but I'm getting better, and I'm looking to get other people better so we can do things for others that make things better for them, and therefore better for the whole world. Because what's better for you, Sebastian's better for your kids, better for everybody that you encounter, your guests, your friends. The whole world gets better as you get better.
Yeah, and 60 hours investment. I mean, you were talking early on about, schools and what you learned at schools. These types of skills in my mind, are the ones that really matter in the future, because our society has moved on from having to memorize things for for then becoming an effective employee. That's not the case anymore, because nowadays I believe work has a lot to do with how you interact with your co-workers, with your customers, and what values do you show, and is there
Absolutely.
a genuine, and all of that, and 60 hours, you could put that easily into one semester for, just high school kids. If that means they can help their peers to move through things
I
or
would love
themselves,
someday
I think
to
it's
have
fantastic.
the opportunity to do that, to do classes for people who work in hospitals, nurses' aides, physicians, or
Yes,
technicians, so that they understand how they can use words to comfort and heal, because nobody taught them that. Nobody taught them that. I mean, and they're smart and they care. It's just nobody taught them how to do it. I want to teach them how to do it, teach all the medical people how to do it, and all the people in mental health, and all the people in coaching, and all the people in the grief industry, and maybe the educational industry. I mean, there's a lot for us to do. I feel like there are oceans all over the planet, and I have successfully removed 1 teaspoonful of ocean. You might say, "Oh, good job." I'll say, "Yeah, isn't that good?" But I think there's an ocean still there, and there's an ocean of misery still there that I can't fix it myself.
yes.
It's too big, but I can get more and more people to know how to fix it for others, and that's what I can leave the world with.
Yeah, very, very beautiful. John,
Thank you, sir.
I do have to ask you one more question before I let you go. Like, it is actually a nice finish, but I'm just a really curious person. I just try to really wrap my head around like
Oh,
how this
you
is
ask great
possible.
questions. Go ahead. What's the
Oh,
next
thank
one?
you. You called it the self. That's really where the story happens, where it's like, the commander still told it will still happen. There's still that danger and so on. You find language. So first of all, are there many different languages that you have to use for different circumstances or personality types? Like, is there quite a range, or is it actually fairly simple? And you say it doesn't matter. A human is a human. It's fairly, yeah. They're just a few, or not, or just one.
I said things to you, Sebastian, that you found amusing, that somebody else would have found insulting or
Right.
sacrilegious or
Yeah.
awful. So yes, it's not like an assembly line. You got somebody in front of you, you want to gear what you're doing to that particular individual, which isn't necessarily the same as another individual, even another individual who talks about the same problem. So if you come in and say, my fear is of riding in buses, and then 4 other people came in the same day, and what's going on
Yes.
with you? I have a fear of riding in buses. Well, everybody's coming in with freaking bus fear. Would I be doing the same thing with each of them? No, because there's similarity in the fear, but there's differences in the mind and the experiences and the beliefs. And so there's a different way to get in to a different lock. You don't use we don't have a key that opens every
Yes.
lock, but we have a lot of keys. So
And is that something that I would know through life experience and say, I know how like, would I as an individual have many keys myself, or is that something you need to really specifically learn to actually know? I have this toolbox now, these many keys, and I have to learn to use this one here, this one here, this
I
one there.
don't think it's intuitive or logical. I don't think what I've figured out that will get people better is something that somebody would just logically figure out. It's not a normal way to think. But they threw me out of the normal club a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's not a normal way to think. We can teach you how to do this thing. Can you just figure it out without learning it from somebody? Probably not. Probably not. but you know, like you don't have to. It's like,
Because you got the keys.
can I get some bananas without going over to that grocery store? Well, who cares? You
Yeah.
can get them at the grocery store. Why not just go get them where you have them? And we have it. We have the bananas. We want to make sure you get them. And we want to make sure you get them even if you don't have a nickel to pay for them.
Yes.
All you need to be learning a whole lot from us is an internet connection and an interest in giving it a shot. And it's will either be interesting or not. But if it's not interesting, we probably wouldn't be good for you anyway. It's interesting to a whole lot of people. So those
Yes.
are the folks we're ready to do this with. Hey, Sebastian, if somebody ever cancels on you last minute or what have you,
Yeah.
I'm loving being with you. If I could do it again someday,
Oh, that would be wonderful.
that would be amazing.
Yes.
I'd love to have you. I want to mention again that if people type in that code that says clear 25, that'll
Yeah.
get a significant discount over most of the stuff that we're offering. I am doing a live training in Florida sometime in January. We have a bunch of people who are already registered from different places in Europe. If one of your people found that to be an interesting thing to do, we get to actually see you in person and make some things happen there. I don't know whether that would even make sense if you haven't even been
Yes.
with us. You're going to go flying over here from
Well, I think it's. Thank you. Thanks for the offer. I found this conversation really incredible, and to me, as I said before, it's really the future, because if you're really solution focused, often ways open up because you're actually looking for what do we really want to achieve? Do we want to relive trauma? No, we actually want this person to be, a happy, healthy, effective member of society,
make the
and
whole
enjoy
world
their
better.
life. And yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It was a great treat, Sebastian. I'll be thinking of
Thank
you
you.
and wishing you the very best. Let me know if that little thing we did for you pays off.
Yes.
I think it
Oh,
will.
terrific.
Like I'm saying, if you run short of guests, I'd love
Yeah.
to jump up
Oh, I
again,
would love
even
to.
last minute, if we made it happen. That'd be
Yeah. Yeah. And see, John, it's funny. I was thinking more about talking the types of traumas. Why nowadays people have when we talk about rape. I actually have look. I think 50% of my former partners have had one or another experience, sometimes severely.
Isn't
Even
that something?
it's
Let me
something.
just repeat what you said because that shouldn't just go by.
Yeah.
50% of people who were your lovers had previously been sexually assaulted. And you know what? That doesn't surprise me. And you know what else? It's
Huh.
really sad that it doesn't surprise me.
Yes. No.
But
And
after listening to thousands of people talk about
uh-huh.
sexual assaults, by the way, the statistics are phenomenal in terms of the likelihood of sexual assault, but the statistics are based on who reported it. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
find, I mean, how are they going to do statistics about things they never heard of? So it's obviously of things that were reported, the vast majority of people that I've met with did not report a
No.
sexual
No.
assault. It's
Yes.
extremely rare. So the
See.
amount of sexual assaults, that's like phenomenal. It's like oceans all over I mean, it's like
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
And I don't know how to make them stop, but I think if we can get people to not be so emotionally screwed up by an ineffective educational system, mental health system, that then we'll probably have less people that are so freaking deranged that they think it's exciting to rape people. And we'll be able to get
Yeah.
people over it. And that's where we're
Yes.
good. We're good. We're better at getting over it than we are at getting the streets well lit and
Yeah.
getting more of a police presence. I don't know how to do that.
I mean, I like that we were really solution focused in our conversation, but yeah, I was wondering, it's like, is it more than before, as it has before? Like 100 years ago, was it as much or not? Because we really don't have any statistics, and of course, it's often a power game, and sometimes.
I doubt if we went back to feudal times, we would find life better.
No, certainly not.
But our ability to destroy the entire planet has never been better than it is now.
Yes. Yeah. And the multiplier effect of, whatever we believe is the right ethics. Like if I think a bit about Disney is a very, very powerful institution because they can really show us like, this is what a good human does, this is what a bad human does, this is how we should think. And, all the media, of course. And yeah, I always think about that and think like, who are the people that are Disney? They are the people that have been raped. They have the people that have raped, maybe, who knows. But, like creating a better society will ultimately also change the influences on others. Like I guess it's just the flow on.
Well, I think that's, right on. And I love Donald Duck. So,
right? There you go.
What's not to like about Mickey and Minnie and Cinderella's Castle? Hey,
yeah, exactly.
It was amazing to be with you, Sebastian. Enjoy your
John and you.
friend, and get out of Germany.
Yeah, shall do. Hey, thank you very much for being so gracious with your time as well and go a little bit over. I would love to talk to you again, John.
Let's make it happen.
I would spread the word, and I am actually. I consider doing your course. I don't know if I can do January because we just moved, but I think it's a fantastic tool to have. Like I just look at my employees, but also my managers, having that, I call it empathy. It's probably the wrong word for what we're talking about, but like actually understanding how to assist people to move over whatever the issue is. It's just a fantastic way to do it.
You have more than enough empathy. I don't want to give you one bit more. It's about skill. So you see this gal and she's upset and she's shook up and a horrible thing happened to her. I don't need to get you to care more.
Gotcha.
You care enough, Sebastian. But would you like to have the skill to turn the dials and cause her to be okay?
Yes.
That's the thing. That's what we'll teach you.
That's fantastic.
I have a sense you're going to show up.
Me too, John. I like things that work, and this really does work. So I love it.
I have a sense we're going to see you.
Thank you, John.
Take care, brother. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you got a lot out of today's inspiring conversation. Please share this episode with someone you know needs to hear it. Whether they are a seasoned health expert or just beginning their wellness journey, these stories of remarkable transformation, success, and valuable insights will certainly help empower more people. Until next time, have the best life ever.